Okay, I remember a time in my life when I thought being efficient and effective was the ultimate goal. If I could get things done quickly and well, I assumed I was doing life right. It didn't matter what the task was, the work, the errands, the projects. I prided myself on being the person who could knock it all out without breaking a sweat. It felt good to cross these items off my to-do list and just watch the pile shrink. But here's the thing, just because you're good at one thing doesn't mean it's worth doing. The realization hit me like a freight train and it forced me to rethink everything. Let me start with the story. A few years ago, I was working a job that was on paper pretty great. I was respected, I had a steady paycheck, and I had mastered my role. I became the go-to person for certain tasks, projects that required quick turnarounds, troubleshooting issues, and organizing these messy workflows. I was efficient and people noticed. Every time something urgent came up, it was like, let's give it to Greg, he'll handle it. And I would. I loved the validation. I loved being seen as the capable, reliable, effective person. But again, over time, something shifted. Instead of feeling accomplished at the end of the day, I started feeling stuck. I realized that I was great at completing these tasks, but they weren't taking me anywhere I wanted to go. I wasn't growing. I wasn't feeling challenged. And importantly, I didn't care about the work itself. I just felt busy. The trap of being good at the wrong things. The funny thing about being good at something is that it creates its own kind of momentum. People start to notice your skill, and suddenly that's all they want from you. It's flattering at first. You think, wow, these guys actually trust me. But over time, this can become a trap. Because when you're consistently effective at handling certain types of tasks, you often get pigeonholed into that role. And the more you do it, the harder it feels to step away. Let's say you're great at managing details, organizing events, coordinating schedules, or catching mistakes. Before you know it, you're the go-to person for logistics. And at first, it feels validating. People rely on you, and you feel needed. But then you realize something unsettling. While you're managing all these details, you're not spending any time on the big picture work that really excites you. You're stuck in the supporting role, and even your ambitions lie elsewhere. And the worst part, the better you get at something, the more people assume it's what you want to do. They see your competence and assume it equals passion. But being good at something doesn't mean it fuels you. In fact, it can drain you, especially when it takes you further from what you actually care about. You end up in a strange cycle where your effectiveness becomes the very thing that's holding you back. What's worse is that the external rewards can make it hard to let go. People praise you for your work, maybe even give you raises, promotions, or bonuses for doing it. From the outside, it looks like success. From the inside, you're unfulfilled. And yet, it's so hard to break free because the world around you keeps reinforcing you of these good things. Why rock the boat? Why think, I should just stick with it? That's how traps tighten. You stay busy, you stay effective, but you also stay stuck. This trap isn't just limited to work either. It can show up in your personal life. Maybe you're the one friend group who's always organizing the outings and resolving conflicts. You're good at keeping things running smoothly, so people lean on you. It feels nice to be appreciated, but after a while, you might realize you're always the one giving, coordinating, or fixing. Never the one simply enjoying the experience. Effectiveness can become a mask for your deeper needs, hiding what you really want in favor of what you're good at delivering. When effectiveness becomes a comfort zone. Effectiveness feels safe, doesn't it? When you're good at something, it's like having a safety net. You know you'll succeed, and that predictability is comforting. But that safety can quietly trap you. By staying in the familiar, even if it's productive, you limit your growth. If you're always doing what you already know, where's the challenge? Where's the excitement? Repeating master tasks doesn't stretch you. It might feel busy or accomplished, but over time, it can just leave you feeling stagnant. For me, this realization hit when I noticed how little I was trying new things. I was so used to handling tasks, I was so good at that I had stopped taking on anything risky. I had a system. It was efficient, and I was getting praised for it. But eventually, those tasks began to feel hollow and repetitive. I was stuck in my comfort zone, and it wasn't serving me anymore. The idea of stepping out felt scary. What if I failed? What if people saw me struggle? Those fears kept me clinging on to my comfort zone, even though I knew it was time for me to let go. But staying safe has its own risks. Stagnation, loss of passion, and missed opportunities. Growth only happens when you take a leap into the unknown. And while it's uncomfortable, it's where the magic really happens. When I finally stepped away, it wasn't easy. I had to say no to tasks I excelled at and let go of the validation that came with them. And instead, I started saying yes to projects that scared me a little, ones that required learning and risk-taking. It wasn't always smooth, but it was exhilarating. I was finally moving forward. Effectiveness in the wrong things is a comfort zone that feels secure but holds you back. Leaving it doesn't mean abandoning your strengths. It means using them to build to something greater. So you ask yourself, is your comfort zone keeping you safe or is it keeping you stuck? The answer might be the nudge you need to start growing again. Asking the right questions. When I started feeling the weight of being busy and unfulfilled, I realized I needed to ask myself some more tough questions. Why was I spending so much time on tasks that didn't inspire me? Why was I prioritizing things that felt like dead ends? One simple but powerful question turned everything around. Am I being effective at the right things? This wasn't an easy question to answer. It forced me to evaluate just not how well I was doing my tasks, but whether they even deserved my time and energy. It's easy to get caught up in what's urgent or expected, but when I paused to reflect, I saw how much of my work didn't align with my goals. I realized I was just on autopilot, solving problems, checking boxes, being busy, but not purposeful. You know what? And another question I started asking was, what if I stopped doing this? What would happen? The answer was surprising. Most of the time, the world wouldn't fall apart. Many tasks weren't as essential as I thought. This freed me into letting go of obligations that didn't serve me. I also asked myself, who benefits most from this? And more importantly, if I keep doing this for 5 years, where will it lead me? These questions were uncomfortable, but they gave me the clarity about where I was spinning my wheels and where I needed to pivot. The process of asking these questions was a one-time thing. It became a habit. I built regular reflection in my routine to assess whether I was spending my days on tasks that aligned with my goals. It reshaped my relationship with failure too. By focusing less on being effective at everything, I gave myself permission to experiment and fail, which helped me grow far more than sticking to a safe task that ever could. The shift changed how I approached opportunities. Instead of saying yes to everything, I became selective. I evaluated my tasks and projects through the lens of my values. First, saying no felt strange, like I was letting people down. But over time, I realized every no created space for something better, something that aligned with my goals and energized me. This clarity had a ripple effects on my relationships too. With fewer distractions, I showed up more fully for the people I cared about. I was present in conversations and experiences in a way I hadn't before. Ultimately, asking the right questions is about reclaiming your control over your life. It's about aligning your time and energy with what truly matters, not just staying busy for the sake of it. If you're feeling stuck or unfulfilled, start with this. What are you doing and why are you doing it? The answers might just surprise you, and they might be the key to a real change. Breaking the cycle. Getting stuck in a cycle of busyness can feel like quicksand. The harder you work, the deeper you sink into routines that leave you unfulfilled. Breaking that cycle requires both self-awareness and intentional action, but the freedom and clarity you make from it is worth the effort. First step is recognizing the cycle. For me, it began realizing how tired and stuck I felt, constantly saying yes to tasks that didn't align with my goals. I was busy but not fulfilled, and the harder I worked, the more trapped I felt. Acknowledging this pattern was the nudge I needed to start asking better questions. Why am I doing this? Does this align with my goals? What would happen if I stopped? Saying no became a game changer. At first it felt risky, but like I was letting people down. But I learned that most of the time people adjust. Delegating tasks I didn't need it to do and handle myself also created space for more meaningful work. You know what? Delegation isn't about giving up control. It's about freeing yourself and focusing on what you actually do best. Simplifying my workflow was another breakthrough. I used to overcomplicate things, juggling multiple tools to manage tasks. When I streamlined my processes, for example, like when I use Blakebill, the file transfer that helps payments, it saved me time and mental energy, allowing me to focus on the work I loved. Breaking the cycle also required reframing failure. One reason we cling to tasks we're good at is the safety net they offer. But growth requires risk. Risk also involves occasional failure. When I embraced failure as a learning tool, I was able to take on the projects that scared me, but also excited me. Those risks often led to the most rewarding experiences. Finally, I had to redefine my relationship with busyness. For so long, I equated being busy with being successful, but I've learned that true success comes from focusing on what matters, not doing everything. By letting go of tasks that didn't serve me, I created space for growth, creativity, and meaningful connections. Breaking the cycle isn't a one-time fix. It's an ongoing process of reflection and intentional choices. But the rewards, clarity, purpose, and joy are worth it. If you're feeling stuck, you gotta remember, you have the power to break free, one small step at a time. The real beauty of doing less is how it helps you reconnect with yourself, your passions, and the people you care about. When I cleared the noise, I just rediscovered hobbies that I had neglected, like actual designing and the occasional video games. I can focus on fewer things and actually do them better. Whether it was a creative project or spending time with loved ones, I wasn't rushing through moments anymore. I was actually present. Doing less is also how I approach work. Before I overcomplicated everything, juggling multiple tools to deliver files, invoices, and track my payments. But again, simplifying that process and using my platform like Blakebill makes a huge difference. It freed me to focus on the work I loved instead of stressing over logistics. Of course, letting go of tasks wasn't easy. I had to confront the fear of disappointing people or missing out. But I realized most of the pressure I felt was self-imposed. No one was demanding that I do everything. It was on my own ability to say no. Once I let go of that fear, I discovered how much unnecessary weight I had been carrying. What surprised me most was how I was doing less improved my mental health. I slept better, I felt less anxious, and I found pace in stillness. Life slowed down in the best way, giving me space to think and breathe. It wasn't about achieving less, it was about focusing on what truly mattered and doing it well. The joy of doing less isn't just about cutting things out. It's about creating room for what moves you forward. By clearing that noise, it makes space for what excites you, what relationships energize you, and the moments that truly matter. If you're feeling overwhelmed, try stepping back, letting go of what's not essential and seeing how much lighter and joyful life can really feel. The path forward. When you realize you're stuck, working hard but feeling unfulfilled, it can feel overwhelming. But moving forward doesn't require a complete overhaul. It's about taking small intentional steps that create meaningful change. Start with reflection. What tasks fill your days, and which of those actually matter to you? What energizes you? What drains you? Recognizing where your time is going and whether it aligns with your goals is the first step towards change. For me, it was becoming clear I was spending too much time on tasks that didn't move me forward. Next, define what matters. What are your values? Where do you want to go? Use these as a filter to choose tasks and opportunities that align with your vision. Learning to say no is a part of this process. Saying no isn't about letting people down. It's about creating space for what's truly important. I found that when I said no to tasks that didn't serve me, people adjusted, and I had more time for work that mattered. Simplify your process. Sometimes the problem isn't the amount of work, but how you're managing it. I used to overcomplicate my freelance workflow until I streamlined it using Blakebill again. File transfers, getting paid immediately, it made a world of difference. So you gotta embrace failure as a part of growth. Trying something new can feel risky, but failure is where learning and discovering new skills comes. Growth happens when you step outside of your comfort zone. Reframe success as doing something that matters most, not doing everything. Focus on fewer, higher impact tasks and let go of the rest. Make regular reflection a habit. Life changes and your goals will too. Checking in with yourself helps you stay aligned and avoid slipping back into old habits. Remember, small steps build momentum. Whether it's delegating a task or starting a passion project, even tiny changes add up over time. Above all, give yourself grace. Change isn't always easy, and it's okay to stumble along the way. The path forward is about progress, not perfection. As you shift your focus to what truly matters, you'll find greater clarity, fulfillment, and joy, and that's what makes the journey totally worth it.